I got so excited about today. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Marsha-Ann. And I know all of us should be occupying front row seats because when Doc begins to speak, we know we are in the season where we need to be reminded about eating healthier. I will tell you openly, Cheryl is on here. She'll tell you that I've told everyone that I have lifted all restrictions until January the 6th. But after this evening, I might actually have to revisit, just trying to let loose over the holidays. Hi, welcome. So happy to see my faithful folks in the Real Talk world. Really happy that you are here. We are going to be wrapping up season 3. And can you imagine that there's so many of you who have been here from season 1, season 2, now season 3, and we're going to start season 4 in 2022. And you have all been on the journey with me, and it means so very much. So today is the 12th of the 12th, 2021, which means that Christmas is in a matter of 13 days. Is that right? Is that right? So somebody drop it in the chat. Is that really possible that we're so close to the holiday period? And the fact that we're all here is more than enough for us to give God thanks, right? No matter what has happened, no matter what is happening, we're in the spirit of really giving God thanks for another day, another month, another year. And we have great expectation about our purpose and really ensuring that we live a life of great intention. And most importantly, I believe all of us need to commit to taking care of this vessel, our body, mind, body, and soul. And we're going to learn a lot more about what we are taking in or what we're not taking in that we ought to be taking in. And the last time, for those of you who had the honor and pleasure of connecting with Dr. Payton when she was on last year, we learned so much. And I know she's coming with the good educational, sustainable tips that we can actually implement for ourselves. So without any further ado, before I bring her up on stage, I am going to do a little bit of her bio. And I always say a little bit because my pattern recently has been to ensure that I afford my beautiful guests to be able to speak for themselves, because what better way to do that? So allow me to read about this dynamic woman, and what I think is more important is that her bio is a fraction of who she is. And I think I have a duty to tell you all how I had the pleasure, at least how God connected us, right? So here is what I will share from this particular excerpt. Dr. Payton is a practicing chiropractic physician, healthcare commentator, associate professor, as well as a runner. She resides in Georgia, and I'm adding here that she has an absolutely beautiful daughter, a queen of purpose that she is raising, and she'll tell us a little bit about that as well. Dr. Payton is the founder of Wellspring Health and Wellness, and for more than 21 years, she has helped people create sustainable, healthy habits. That's just a fraction of who she is and what she's all about. And I want her to feel the love, the real talk love that we are so known for. I want us to welcome her on center stage to a resounding applause. Ladies and ladies, welcome to none other than Dr. Shelia Payton. Hold on. And here she comes. Hi there,
hey,
Dr. P.
Hey, how are you? Happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So we're wanting to tell you that we're so happy you're here in the building. We have Jamaica, we have Canada, we have the UK. Talia, you're in the Carolinas. I can't remember which one. But yes, we're here. We are here. I want you all to stop for a moment and just look at her glowing skin, because I think we need to pick her apart before this episode is over, for her to tell us some of the things that she does to maintain this incredible glow that she has at all times. There are folks that are saying, welcome back. There are folks who have said, welcome, Doc. We're so happy that you're here with us. And thanks for saying yes to the Real Talk family and yes to me.
I'm so glad to be back. So happy to be back. And we have to talk about how you and I met. We have to talk about that. Can't believe it.
Nobody would ever believe or understand.
Would ever believe it.
Yeah. And I think it's an important message, because if we're not open to meeting folks along life's journey,
yes, open,
we might miss out on golden connections that God would want us to have.
That's the thing we're teaching our girl children.
Yes.
Relationships matter.
Yeah, they do.
You're so busy. You gotta open yourself up to relationships.
Absolutely. So I'm going to give them the nugget.
Okay.
Of how I'm going to call it random, because somebody needs to understand that what we think is random is really not a coincidence when God is in it. So believe it or not, I get to the parking lot out of town with my job at a hotel. I get to a parking lot and I come out of my car and I'm walking on purpose towards a meeting. And this beautiful woman who is in fitness gear and seemingly either just finished a run, running or walking or fast pace. Mindful people, all I'm doing is to walk, going to my meeting. I'm in Jamaica.
But you're talking.
I'm talking.
But you're talking.
Yes, I was talking. And this lady turns around and says something like, I know that voice.
Yep.
People, can you believe that? What did you say?
I was like, oh my God, that's her. Oh my God. That's the lady from, oh my God. And so I had to say something. It was already out. I'm a Gemini, so I come with a legion of people. So one of them just jumped out, was like, hey, that's you. And I had to follow.
She's like, I know that voice.
I know that voice.
You're with Sandals.
Yes.
And
you were like,
here we are today.
And you did not bat an eye. You were like, why, yes. You were not too busy, even though I knew you were on purpose because you were giving a directive and you and your assistant were moving forward. Yes. You did not say, hey, how you doing? I'm busy. Keep going, little lady, on your vacation. You stopped and you held. And not only did you hold a conversation with me, you hugged me. You treated me as if you seen me just last week. Yeah. So opened yourself up to dialogue with me. And look where we are. Years later.
Years later.
Your energy is so powerful. I mean, you could have been 10 feet tall. I can tell that when you come into a room, everyone is like, be quiet. Because your presence is so effective. It's just so dynamic. It's just beautiful. It's so powerful. So powerful.
Thank you. And I would echo the same for you, because we never lost touch, guys. Never. And I would say the power of social media afforded us to stay connected. Yes. And now we're on a mission to try and determine how we can, all four of us, get connected. Both of us along with our daughters. Absolutely. So thank you. Hey, I love that. Her energy is inherited and personal. Thank you for saying that. Amazing. Thank you. Yes. So because of our good energy, here we are reconnecting. And I know that you have so much that you can share with us. I mean, if someone breaks down something extremely digestible and practical, you check that box for me, because I find that you create an awareness for us about all things health and wellness. And I believe you're so conscious of the busyness of life, people's lifestyles, but you give us things that are so implementable. And so before we even get into the depth of knowledge, I want you to take us by the hand and tell us a little bit more about you. And then we're going to talk about this.
Okay, so as you know, I am a chiropractic physician and have been for 20 plus years now. But even before then, I was the little 5-year-old who stayed Monday through Friday in my grandparents' kindergarten, also known as my grandparents kept me. And my grandfather had a garden. And the daily routine was, of course, you're 5 and you have to have coffee. And you have to have oysters, because hey, that's what grandparents do, spoil the grandkids and addict them to caffeine at an early age. And then you go out to the garden. So I have been exposed to nature all of my life. And believe it or not, those things stick with children, because I would then come to the house and I would play cook. I would take the leaves from the plants and the flowers from the plants, and I would make medicine. Had no clue what I was doing, but I was watching my grandfather do what he watched his people do. So it's been in my life, all of my life. And so now we move back to school. I went to undergrad, where I have a degree of bachelor's of science in biology with a concentration in chemistry. And then I moved on to chiropractic school. But even my journey to chiropractic school was a little different, in that I was interested, I thought, in physical therapy. But I interned during school with a physical therapist who worked with an orthopedic surgeon. He and I talked more about the human body than I did with the guy that I was interning with. And he said to me, this isn't you. Physical therapy, while it has its place, this isn't you. So let's fast forward. I found myself in chiropractic school and finished chiropractic school. And then I moved to the UK. A little known Black history fact about me is I am the first African-American female to practice chiropractic in the UK. I did not know that until I had gone back to pull some of my records, my certifications, and realized after doing some digging, yeah, I am.
Say that again for the people in the back of the room, please.
I am the first African-American female chiropractor to practice in the UK.
Wow. People, please drop a big round of applause. Sheree says it best. Oh, wow.
So I lived in Milton Keynes that's where I was based, and did my work there, but also did some work in Scotland with a trust in Aberdeen. So that's where my baby was born. That's where I was married. We were building a home, my ex-husband and I, and the house, the baby was due in February. The house was due in June. House wasn't ready until October. Long story short, we found ourselves repatriating to America, supposedly until she was getting ready to go to middle school. But of course, God has a different plan, and wound up being a single mother and opening a practice here in the historic town of city of Decatur. So from there, chiropractic was my life. Running started out not just because I wanted to be fit in my undies. Running was a coping mechanism for going through a divorce. And so it became my therapy. And from there, I found a tribe of women who understood where I was professionally and emotionally. And that opened me up to other things that I was interested in. Then functional medicine happened. And functional medicine is a fancy way of saying, food is medicine. Let thy food be thy medicine, and let thy medicine be thy food. I hear Hippocrates coined it, but I kind of think Imhotep may have had a little something to do with that phrase as well. But at any rate, I have always been interested in using food as medicine, and nothing has happened with or for me or to me that has just been necessarily serendipitous when it comes to my career. I have seen firsthand the effects of chronic diseases, diabetes, high blood pressure, the effects of those, the effects on the urinary system, effects on the eyes, the neurological system, the cardiovascular system. There are so many systems that this chronic disease can touch and affect. And by the time someone is diagnosed, typically the diagnosis comes with let's manage it versus let's get over it. And so I see patients, as well as my own mother, who suffers from those chronic illnesses, not necessarily because of her diet, because of some of the medications she was taking for high blood pressure. So there are medications that will raise the blood sugar, and with the diet will help catapult us into some of these diseases. And so I tried to figure out how could I help my mother. And I preached, I cried, I manipulated. But the only thing that I found that worked was asking her if she could just make one small change at a time. And that is where Small Changes with Dr. Shelia came from. It's because I recognize that people, while they are open, sometimes can be inundated and overwhelmed with information. And if not for an acute diagnosis that says, if you don't do this, you'll die, habits roll back. And then we become despondent, and then we retire and resign, and we go back to what we know. So what I've been able to see that works is small changes, using food as medicine, making small changes on our way to bigger and better health. So that is where I am, and that is where I am now. That is a passion of mine, is trying to help, especially people that look like me, not be wrapped by the chronic diseases of, for example, high blood pressure, diabetes, and some of the on effects of those diseases.
Wow. Man, I mean, to think that we actually have the opportunity of learning from you with the accolades that you bring, it's a big deal for us, and definitely can't wait for you to step into helping us to make some of these very small changes. You know, we're all at different stages in our life, but one thing is sure, I believe a lot of us have become a lot more conscious about the importance of our health and our wellness.
Especially now.
Especially now. Especially now. And I can tell you that I'm a living testament
You
to
are.
testing out the impact of the right foods and the combination of foods and juices that have helped me personally. But take us along a journey, because this is such a gamut from A to Z. You have the floor to direct it as you need to. But one thing I want to make sure we cover on this episode, you did an incredible post about the importance of vitamin D. And I did not know. I mean, we grow up, we hear about it. We live in, for those of us who live where the sun is, I think we take it for granted. But help us to unpack a journey of making small changes with healthier foods for a healthier you. Over to you.
Okay. So first, let's talk about vitamin D, because it is important. Sometimes I feel like I'm a vitamin D3 evangelist. Okay, I'll wear it, put on my collar, and here we go. Vitamin D, especially now, we're in the middle of this thing, and we are looking for, I hope, as many tools as we can garner and gather to help us survive through this thing that we're living. And when we talk about the immune system, we have to understand, I like to get patients and people to understand the importance. I won't get into, the science of it, but I'll get into the importance and the things that will help you maintain a healthy immune system. But before I do that, I want people to understand who we are as human organisms. And then maybe we can understand why some of the foods that we eat have the effect. So let's create a human organism. Before you and I are a beautiful baby girl, the baby girls that we were before, we were born, we were one cell from the mom, one cell from the dad, one contribution from mama, one contribution from daddy. Come together, there's one cell. The cell divides and divides and divides and divides. And once those cells divide enough, then there's a tissue there, like the inside of your cheek, literally tissues. Those cells continue to divide and expand, and eventually they differentiate into an organ. Typically, relative to the human body, the neurological system, the brain, central nervous system forms first. That's called the neural tube. It's tissue. And then you have all of the other organs. You have your heart, you have your lungs, you have your kidneys, you have your eyes, you have your pancreas, your liver, your intestines, etc. They all start to form. And then once those organs start to form, then there are different organs that come together and synergistically they work together for a common purpose. For example, the cardiovascular system, the neurological system, the immune system, the urinary system, the digestive system, the musculoskeletal system. That means that you have different organs that are coming together and they are working together for a particular good, for a job. They're doing a job, several organs. But then you continue to grow and you have all of these systems. And when they come together synergistically, they're able to form a human organism, which is able to sustain life. We have in our bodies over 37 trillion of those cells that come together, make tissues, organs, organ systems, and then the organism. So in order to continue to keep those cells alive, we have to be able to feed them the things that they need in order to constantly exchange energy, take in nutrients, use it for what it needs to exchange it. It's called metabolism. Metabolites are the things that the cell brings in, utilizes it for its good, and the waste goes back out. We have to have those things, or else it's like not watering a plant. It withers and it dies. So when you water your plant, you can't just give it water. Sometimes you have to give it plant food. You have a car, you can't just drive around in air. You got to give it what it needs. You have to give it oil, you have to give it gasoline, Freon, all the other good things. Same concept with the human organism. It has to have things to sustain it so that it can keep moving. And when we talk about one of those systems, back to the immune system, it's just like any other system. It has to be maintained. So let's talk about how we maintain the immune system. Again, those cells, we have red blood cells, we have white blood cells, we have, we heard people talk about mast cells. I'll bring myself back and not get into the science, but we have to have, I'll go there. We have to have food for those cells in order to do the job. Am I back on?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And so vitamin D is one of those contributors when we talk about the immune system. And there are plenty others, but vitamin D is very, very vital to continuing to maintain, again, that immune system. How do we get vitamin D? But before that, let's go back to talk about the importance. Then I'd like to talk about how you get it. The thing with vitamin D is really initiated by the sun. It's what we call the sunshine vitamin. You go outside, depending on your hue, the amount of melanin you have in your skin, your body will get that sunshine, and then you will start to make vitamin D inside of the body. Okay? There is a whole cycle that happens in order to make vitamin D. Vitamin D is the regulator of the immune system. It is the thing that's going to turn the immune system on or shut it down if it's not plentiful. Yeah. So if you are in the sun, someone like me, because I have lots of melanin, which is a protector from the harmful rays of the sun. So for me, the sunshine needs to shine on me longer than maybe for you, because your hue is not as plentiful of melanin as I am. So I have to be in the sun a little longer in order for vitamin D to kick on that synthesis. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who's Caucasian will be able to be in the sun 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and boom, it gets started. I don't know if any of your listeners have ever heard the statistics say that African Americans and African people of African descent are typically much lower in vitamin D than others. Voila.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't tell us that we have to be in the sun longer. When we were brought over, made a right turn to the Americas, left turn to the Caribbean, we were outside, and we didn't have a choice how long we wanted to be outside. But the wonderful thing about the melanin was that it protected us from the harmful rays, and at the same time made the vitamin D that gave us that boost in the immune system. Well, now we are living in, the 21st, 22nd century. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how it goes, but we're living in the current times, and most of us don't spend 30 minutes in the sun, 15 minutes in the sun. So we don't produce that amount of vitamin D that's needed in order to help maintain the healthy immune system. So what do? We have vitamin D3 supplements, and we take those to help us maintain, and some of us build up the amount of vitamin D that we need to properly modulate the immune system. So vitamin D is extremely important, and I'll tell you why. I can give you an example as to why we can see the effects. During the summer, colds and flus are typically down
Mm-hmm.
because we have sunshine. Viruses don't like sunshine. They just don't. Any type. We're not talking about that one. Just in general, the rhinovirus, which is the common cold. This is why we have them less, because you're outside, because you have the sun shining on you, you're sweating, you are burning, and you are getting that vitamin D synthesis. Well, as the seasons change and we are not exposed because of the seasons change to the sunlight, the direct sunlight, as we did a few months back, then we're not synthesizing it as much. And so what happens? We see cold and flu season arise. We start hearing around August, oh, here comes cold and flu season. Yeah. It's not just because, it's a monster coming. It's because the seasons are changing. We're getting less sunshine. We're being outside less. We're inside because we're cold and we want to keep warm. And so we start to see our immune systems being more stressed. And this is why vitamin D is absolutely important, especially during the winter. It is the sunshine vitamin.
Hmm.
And so this is why I am the evangelist of vitamin D3, because there is research. The Mayo Clinic, Harvard, because we're now living in this time, scientists started doing postmortem exams and studies on the cadavers that succumbed to the virus. And what the majority of them saw was the majority of them were deficient in vitamin D.
Wow.
And so I posted a study. Of course, there is never a study that is everyone loves. And
Mm-hmm.
so how it's done, where it's done, how long it was done, how many people, that is all neither here nor there. But the study showed that once your numbers relative to vitamin D are at a certain point, your likelihood of succumbing to this time almost zero. And I'll post it again so your viewers can see it.
Sure.
I just posted it last week, and it's a a real study. Vitamin D is important. I can't say it enough.
Wow. Man, I think all of us are arrested in that moment. So
Yeah.
the question is,
Mm-hmm.
how do we know how much we need?
Mm-hmm.
Other than for some who might not be able to tolerate the sun,
Mm-hmm.
how do we get vitamin D through foods as
Mm-hmm.
well as the ideal supplements?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you can share
Mm-hmm.
as a guide for us, that would be great.
Well, what I will say about supplementation, the majority of us, well, first, if you want to know where and how do you know how much you have, you go to your doctor and you tell them to examine your blood for your vitamin D levels, period. You are a customer and you are going, and there is a reciprocal relationship. You're paying your doctor some money and he's providing a service. You are a customer. I want to know what my vitamin D3 levels are, what my vitamin D levels are, regardless of what the opinion is. This is what I want to see. If not, there are always labs that you can walk into yourself and say, hey, I like to have my blood drawn. How do I do it? Some will allow you to come in, some want referrals. You can find out. The majority of us, over the majority of us, are low in vitamin D. So that's how you can find out. Get your serum tested, get your blood tested. Now, when we talk about supplementation, how you can get vitamin D through foods, you can get some vitamin D through foods, but I don't necessarily like to have that conversation, because the reality is, because most of us so deficient, you can't eat enough to get what it is that you need.
Got it.
I liken it to, there are people who are vegans and they say, I'm vegan and I get my protein through plants. You would have to eat so much of a particular plant just to get the amount of protein you would from animal sources, that you would have to go to a more synthetic brand of pea protein to be able to drink it, to be able to get what you need.
Right.
I highly recommend vitamin D3 supplements. They come in very, very small, tiny pearlets. Vitamin D, also vitamin E, their units, their measurements are in IUs versus milligrams. So when you go into the store and you purchase your vitamin D3, they're in 1,000 IUs, 5,000 IUs, and people look at it and go, whoa, that's a big number. An IU is, I want to say, if I can remember the number, I think it's 0.025% of 1 milligram. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny amount. So I hear patients say, well, what happens if I take too much? You would have to take at a minimum, and I was just reading a study a couple days ago, how do I become toxic in vitamin D? You need to take a minimum 60,000 IUs every day for almost a year to build up too much vitamin D in your system. So don't worry about, overdosing, but it's always my advice to do this, have this type of conversation with a practitioner who can help monitor you and guide you and things like that. But what I recommend to patients when they come to see me, functional medicine relative, I tell them 5,000 IUs a day is great, but that's provided that you have normal levels. What do you do if you don't? So figuring out where you are, I believe, is smart. I believe it's the wise thing to do. But that is what I recommend relative to, getting that amount in.
That makes all the sense. I didn't even know or think of the ability to actually just, ask for that as a part of my blood work. And I absolutely will moving forward.
Absolutely.
So
and a lot of us
awareness check, yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
A lot of us will be shocked.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And then D, on the other hand, also impacts a part of what I read with what you shared.
Yeah.
The mood.
Yes.
All of those other good
serotonin,
things.
your mood, your bones, your hormones, your cardiovascular system. It's not just the immune modulator, but it has other areas that it is highly impactful. I don't understand why there's no vitamin D mandate. They're just saying. Where is the vitamin D mandate? There should be one.
You're going to have to be the one to pencil that white paper and then submit it from there.
Please, Lord, someone, please. Well, I mean, we understand it's affordable. It's cheap.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost a lot.
Right. Wow. This alone is very eye-opening. And I'm going to encourage everyone to go to your page and look back at even what you had posted recently about vitamin D. Yes. I believe that, just that what you shared in your Instagram, that became a big eye-opener for me. And now my new mission, because one of the practices that I have, I aim to go out in the mornings and actually soak up a little bit of sun time, not a lot, because I do not have the ability to take in too much sun because my skin is highly sensitive. Right? But I get enough to know that I'm out for a few minutes first thing in the morning. And another practice I aim to do is that in the middle of the day, I will leave my desk, go out and literally just go out, look up towards the sun, eyes closed, feel the penetration of the warmth. It is such a mood booster as well.
Yes, because that is what vitamin D does. It boosts your mood.
And so that's why they say that the happier people
live where?
Yeah. Live in the sunny side of the world.
That's right. That's right. It's not a euphemism. It's real. It is science, because now we see when you have the ability to make vitamin D and synthesize it regularly, of course it's going to affect your mood. Has to.
Got it. All right. So D3, we're on a mission to find out where we are first and then know what to take.
Yes.
So above and beyond that, we want to get healthy. We want to talk about things like metabolism and how metabolism is slowing down a little bit for some of us. The importance of the small changes, whether it's walking, certain foods that we ought to be eating. Those of us who want to do a little bit more plant-based, you do such pretty foods. Just take us on the walk about the healthier foods for a healthier you.
Okay. So when we talk about making small changes on our way to bigger, better health, I tell patients, when they say, well, okay, Dr. Payton, what should I eat? I like the KISS method. Keep it simple. Eat as close to the earth as you possibly can and add protein to it. And it literally means that those foods that come out of the ground are closest to the earth. Then the ones that come out of the trees are close to the earth. And then the ones that walk amongst the earth, add that last. There is, and in my life, I've had an opportunity to do the vegetarian diet. I've had an opportunity to live as a vegan, and I subscribe to none of them wholeheartedly because I have lived long enough to understand the importance and how all of them play a role in my life. Now, I am at a place personally where dairy is not my friend, and it's a lot of us are like that. I've had a chance to experience over and over that slice of cheesecake that I love, but the itchy ears and the itchy eyes and the scratchy throat and the feeling as if I'm catching a cold. I know that my body is directly reacting to the dairy. So that is something that I know for me, I cannot do. So if there are things that that you have eaten and you give yourself 10, 15, 30 minutes and you're having, mood swings and you're having physical symptoms, that is definitely something that you need to take a look at and maybe remove from your diet and bring it back. But again, keeping it simple. There's so many diets out there, Marsha-Ann. There's Mediterranean, there's keto, there's this. There's so many diets that getting onto the ladder can be overwhelming as well. So if you're looking to make that small change, you don't have to wait to January. You can eat starting now close to the earth, and then add. No one's saying you don't have to not eat your decadent sweets, because I am here for some pound cake. Trying to, I'm here for it. But I've decided that, okay, I can't have 3 slices. Okay, maybe I can have 1. And I know that I'm going to continue my walking and my running regime and my lifting weights. And I'll come back to, now that I am a special 29, now I'm a special 30 now. There are different things that I have to do in order to help me to live better, healthier, and a quality of life. But again, back to what we were talking about relative to making small changes, what I say is eat as close to the earth as you possibly can. That is what you want to do. And then you make smaller changes from there. You can, start investigating different diets. You can start investigating eating more protein and more green leafy vegetables and losing the carbohydrates. What I will caution the average one of us, when you're looking to, if you're ever looking to take meat out of your diet, what you don't want to do is become a carbitarian. Because meat is bulky, it helps that hormone in our brains that tell us when we're full. And then there's a hormone that tells us when we're empty. We don't want to exchange one issue for another when we are looking to make that change by filling our bodies up with carbohydrates, rice, beans, potatoes, because then we start looking at damaging our pancreas and starting to fall into that area of what we call insulin resistance, which then is the precursor to having diabetes. So we want to be careful when we're looking to make that change. Eating close to the earth, you want to have as many green leafies as you can. Add your starches in, because we need starches. Our brain, our bodies need sugar, but we don't need it if we're not doing work. So that is one of the things when I talk about our plates. Now, when you're looking at when to eat certain things, sugar, again, as I said, sugar is there to do work. It's our fuel. If you're going to work out, you shouldn't work out on an empty stomach. If you are going to bed, you might not want cornbread and rice and peas, because you're not doing any work. You have 2 times. You have resting and digesting, and then you have those times when you are fleeing or you are standing. So if you're working, hey, you need it. But if you're not, you don't. So then that brings us to, what do we do for dinner? So if you're going to do your carbohydrates, do those up in the day. 7, 8 o'clock, you may want to start limiting that sugar load, because you don't need it. You're getting ready to rest and digest. So those are simple things that I will say start with. I won't tell you, what to eat in particular, but if it's close to the ground, go for it. And then add your protein. But be careful not to swap your protein for carbohydrates, because we don't want to exchange one issue for another. Now,
wow.
All right, what else?
So, Marsha is asking, is there any validity to a diet that's based on your blood type?
Oh my gosh, yes. There is a book that's called Eat Right for Your Type. And there are studies that have been done, Mayo Clinic, everywhere else, about those particular diets that work best for particular types of blood types. Yes, there is lots of validity to those.
Okay.
I do like Eat for Your Type.
Okay. So here is one of the things I'd love us to talk about. You spoke about weight training, and really getting to that, celebrating the 25th year of our lives.
Yes, again.
And how important it is to really incorporate fitness. And you mentioned weight training.
Yes.
Talk to us more about your perspective and your knowledge of how important it is to integrate that aspect, the weight training, as a part of our lifestyle?
Okay. So when I give any explanation around the body, I like to always go back to the body first, and then we move outward.
Sure.
So once you reach a certain 25 that I'm 50 years old, and I understand where my body is going hormonally. As we start to nibble around the edges of perimenopause and menopause, that is the universe's way, it's nature's way of saying, no more babies. Please, God, no more babies. So with that, that means that you are no longer producing eggs, you're no longer ovulating, and you're no longer having the instructions from the estrogen every month to not only produce an egg, but estrogen is there to tell your bones to stay strong. And it does a number of other things. It helps to keep down belly fat. It helps to keep our skin taut. And so when you don't have those instructions, what you start to see is your body will try to get whatever it needs to get, however it needs to get it. So you will start to have, you can start to have weaker bones. You can start to have your adrenals kick in and cortisol kick in, the stress hormone kick in, and it will start to try and produce the estrogen in a way that is a substitute, and it doesn't do it in an efficient and in a healthy way. So you will start to see the laying down of the belly fat. You will start to notice as you creep onto perimenopause and to menopause that weight is sticking to the stomach. You also start to notice maybe your bowel habits are starting to slow because, again, estrogen is there and it's a part of that whole chain. So what we have to do is find ways of signaling to our bodies to do these things in a healthy and a smart way. Comes in resistance training. In order to have our bodies to maintain healthy bones, to help keep our bellies flat, we have to learn how to give the brain a different instruction. And that is where we find resistance training. It does that. Walking, that constant jarring of the feet on the ground tells the bones, hey, something's going on here. We need to continue to be healthy. So as you get through menopause and you're not moving, you definitely lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it. And so resistance training is almost an elixir to a special 25-year-olds because it kicks in where estrogen is starting to step back. And so this is why we start to see the belly fat. We start to see the waggly arms. We start to see, of course, the mood changes and things like that. Resistance training is key. You don't have to be a competitor. You don't have to compete in order to get that effect. But you have to learn how to get into the diet, and also you have to learn how to get those instructions into the brain. And resistance training just does that. And so if you don't know what to do, this is where I highly recommend a trainer, someone who not necessarily is with you every day, but someone that can put together a program for you so that you can make this change. It's almost like running track. You got to pass the baton. So estrogen was running the race. Now we have to figure out how to eat and how to utilize our bodies to resist that change in our lives. So that is important. And it is just, it's amazing. It's amazing relative to boosting your metabolism. You will start to notice that you will start to be more regular again. But then you also have to look at the diet. You cannot eat, you can, but to get the results that you're looking for, you can't eat the way you did when you were 35. And you can't eat the way you maybe when you're 40. You have to learn that you have to eat for our age. Like we talked about eating for your type. You have to learn how to eat and live for your age. So it is very important. And I think, Marsha, you're seeing you're seeing the result. I mean, I'm watching you every week, and it's just like, I mean, she looks like a teenager. It is almost a fountain of youth. You don't have to get in there and be a bodybuilder and nice and fit like your baby girl is, but we got to tell the body we still want to be in the game, you know? Absolutely.
Wow. Well, everybody is saying, wow. Yeah, this is information we need.
Yeah.
Kamoy says, 50? Are you serious? So speaking of which,
Mhm.
the skin.
Okay. Okay.
We
So
need
the
it.
skin. Here we go. It is extremely simple, kinda, sorta. The skin is the largest organ on the human organism. Skin grows from the inside out. You are what you eat. You are what you drink or not. Water is the elixir for the skin. Regardless if you don't like it, I hate drinking water, it's going to show. Dehydration shows in the eyes. Dehydration is going to show around the eyes. It's going to show around the skin. It's going to show underneath your makeup. You know, we love to say, oh, girl, my face is beat, but you'll notice you'll have to beat more and more and more when when the skin is dehydrated. It's going to show up in the urine. If you get up in the mornings and your urine smells like you should be, eh, you know you're dehydrated. Y'all know that smell. What is happening? You aren't drinking enough water. And so hair, skin, nails, made of the same thing, keratin. And so there is a routine that I have. Moisture, moisture, moisture. I grew up with a mother who said Blue Seal Vaseline was going to cure everything. Get your Blue Seal Vaseline. Here you come. I want to be greasy tonight. Yeah, so, but what she did was instilled in that routine. You have to have a routine. So, what I do is I don't wash my face in a lot of cleansers. I don't do all of the drying because our skin needs moisture and it needs oils. I mean, it's not that I don't clean my face, but I don't do a whole lot of that stuff. I don't, I don't use the cleanser and then I use the toner. I may use that once a month. Or because my daughter is addicted to skin products and she doesn't understand she's 18 and she could put mud on her face literally and it won't change anything. And so she has steamers and everything, and I get in on it, but I understand, it's not going to help me as much. But steaming the face is great. The body needs moisture. And so during the winter is much more harsh on our skin than it is during the summer. So a humidifier, if you deal with dry skin, never underestimate the power of humidity. My plants are ticked off when I don't, if I love it to be hot inside of the house. I've killed enough plants to know that they're like, lady, if you just spritz us with some water with this heat in this house, we will be happy. So same concept with the skin. The skin needs humidity. So water, you need water soluble vitamins. You have to have your greens. You just need them. That's where your C's and your B vitamins are going to come from. You just have to have it. You need to have an ability to sweat. You need to get the toxins out. One of the things that scares me really, really bad is when I hear people say, oh no, I can't sweat. I can't deal with sweating. Let me tell you what sweating is. Sweating is a physiological experience. Couple of things that happen. When we sweat under here, it is a way of exchanging not only heat sweating from the inside to the outside, which is highly important because of something called homeostasis. Your body inside should maintain a constant state regardless of what happens on the outside. When you don't, then that's when we start having strokes and things like that. But back to what I was saying. You have to be able to maintain the homeostasis, but you also have to be able to get the gunk out. You have lymph nodes positioned everywhere in your body, from under your chin, front of your ears, behind your ears, front of your neck, behind the neck, in the elbows, etc. The lymph nodes course along the body with the cardiovascular system. And when you have impurities in the blood, it dumps them out because the lymph nodes, the lymph system is like this open catch. So they just sit open and wait to catch all the gunk. Well, the lymph nodes are the trash cans. They push all of that stuff to those areas, and they are excreted out through the urine, through the body, or through the sweat. You need to sweat. If you don't, it backs up. And guess what that allows for? The proliferation of wild, uncontrollable cells, also known as malignant cells. So you want to, you should, you must, please, if you would, sweat. That is also going to have an effect on the skin and the health of the skin. So sweating, water in, hydration, meaning humidity, and you got to eat. And then you can find some lovely products. I love Rihanna's moisture. Once again, my 18-year-old who buys all the products, but I love her products. I love her skin products. They are great. I absolutely love the way they feel. But that is the last thing. Skin doesn't grow, neither does hair grow from the outside in. It all is an inside job. And that's my routine.
Man, you have given us so much to digest, so much to work on, but all very doable.
Very doable. Very doable. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think what's most important is knowing that we can assess where we are with our vitamin D level. For those of us who have the sun, make sure we get our sun time, the eating healthy and really eating from the earth, which our forefathers did all of that, like this concept of organic is not new to any of us.
No.
It's just changed over time and has become so commercialized.
It's changed over time, but what has also happened, what we call monocropping, is we have ripped so much of the nutrients out of the soil that we need supplementation. Rice used to be full of niacin, good stuff for you. Now, most rice products are void of nutrients. That is why we're now being sold back the idea of what our forefathers grew up on. And it's sad, but it's a reality.
Without naming any, your favorites, you talk about vitamin D3. We know we have to consult with our own doctors for what's well for us. But can you share anything about fish oils and cod liver oil and vitamin E?
Yeah, all of those oils, so our brains, in order to conduct good information from itself, our brains communicate with the rest of the body via electrical impulses. So in order to be able to do that well, we need fats. We need healthy oils. So remember, we were given the cod liver oil twice a year. Jesus, and cod liver oil with a little sprinkling of peppermint powder, and it's just shoved in your mouth and not told why. That is the thing that sustained them, because those fatty oils, those omega-3s, the omega-6s, those are elixirs. Absolutely. I highly recommend the oils. You can't take too much. Something else that I do for my skin, and for my heart, I take a tablespoonful of olive oil every night. Do some research on olive oil and the cardiovascular system. Yes, I highly recommend cod liver oil, the fish oils, fatty fish that is wild caught. We didn't talk about that. When you look at your meats, fish especially, you want wild sources. The farm raised, a lot of them are given pellets for the colors. to make the fish look a particular way. It may be convenient, but you are what you eat. If you're going to eat meats, you want meats that have animals that have had the opportunity to roam, being in the feedlots. Yeah, that's a lot of stress when they're euthanized. It's a lot of stress. We are what we eat. So that stress, those hormones, those antibiotics are in the meat and the muscle of the animal. They're euthanized. They're on our tables. They don't drain the hormones out. That's what we eat. And that's what goes to make new cells, new tissues, new organs, organ system, organism. Yeah. So I highly recommend them.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Our sharpness of our brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like ashwagandha, I never
Mm-hmm.
pronounce it accurately, or anything of
Ashwagandha.
that nature. Yeah. And teas. Are
Yes.
there teas, natural teas that you encourage us to
Yes.
drink?
Yes.
This big green tea and matcha, and talk to us.
Matcha is a superfood. It is full of antioxidants, and it is an elixir for your gut health. Green tea is okay. Matcha tea is the best. If there is a tea that I ask you to drink, have a cup of matcha tea daily. If you suffer from any gut issues, do it for me for 30 days and contact me and let me know how you feel.
Wow.
Matcha is amazing. It is a superfood and it is a great gut healer. We didn't talk about prebiotics and probiotics. Those things are great. The gut is the second brain. Yeah. The 80% of our immune system is in our gut. We need to talk about that as well. We need gut health. Healthy gut, healthy body. Healthy gut, healthy brain. That is very important. Prebiotics and probiotics. The prebiotics feed the probiotics. They are great. So those are things that, if I can throw those out there, absolutely.
I've never heard of prebiotics.
Yes.
I've only known of probiotics.
Yeah, the probiotic is the live organism that we're going to get into the body. But you also have to be able to have a good house and good fertilizer for them to live. That is what the prebiotic does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, do some research on the prebiotic. That's what that does. Absolutely great for it, for your gut. There's so much to leaky gut and gut health. And what leaky gut is, really quick, is there is a very thin layer of tissue that separates outside of the gut with inside of the gut. Once that tissue starts to wear away from our diets, from overgrowth of bad bacteria, bad things, then what tends to happen is the stuff that's inside of the gut, inside of the small intestines, starts to leak out. And when it leaks out into the outside, then our bodies start to have immune responses. So this is where we get things like celiac. This is where we get some of these autoimmune system diagnoses, because we are now, I don't want to say poisoning, but for a loose term, you're poisoning the body with things that should stay inside. That's how we get leaky gut. So green tea, the matcha green tea, very, very good. I can't say enough about it. Good stuff.
Tell us again about those healthy fats.
Okay. Avocados, olive oils, omega-3s, omega-6s, healthy fat fish. Salmon is great. Non-farm raised. Our bodies need them. Nuts to a minimum, because if you are of a certain age, there are things that you got to balance. You got to balance your diet along with the healthy things. So nuts are great, but you eat too many seeds and nuts, that's going to put on weight and may slow down your metabolism. So that's what I mean about healthy fats. If you are still eating or using dairy, you want ghee, You want grass-fed butter. You want those types of dairy products, organic all the way when it comes to dairy. Because again, that's going to be from an animal that was allowed to roam free versus being in the feedlot.
The question about, are you familiar with MCT oil?
Yeah, coconut oil. MCT is great. It's made from, it's really great. And that's, I think,
coconut oil?
So MCT coconut, you get it from the coconut oil. So MCT oil is great. It's really good. There is a type of coffee, I think it's called bulletproof coffee. People will actually take the MCT and put a tablespoon of that in their coffee. Some people will even use butter. And it is a healthy fat that's good for the brain and good for the body. And it also keeps you satiated for longer during the mornings, especially those who are looking to do intermittent fasting and things like that. MCT oil is a part of that. And coffee, black coffee, if you're looking to do intermittent fasting without the sugar, it will curb your appetite. It's amazing what it does. I love coffee. Did I say that? I love
Listen.
I love the smell of it.
I have a serious coffee lover, and you just endorsed everything that she wanted to hear. So I know we can't talk to her when next we see her. You have given her a complete carte blanche way of living now. Okay?
Hey, fellow coffee lover. Hi, I'm Sheila, and I'm drinking coffee since I was 2 years old, 5 years old, one of those.
Unbelievable. If you were going to tell us about oils that you suggest we use for food preparation.
Yes. Here we go. Coconut oil, olive oil, sunflower oil, a little bit, avocado oil. Let me back up in order of importance. Avocado, coconut, olive are my three favorite. Cottonseed, saffron, no. Those are the three that I highly recommend. Yes. Vegetable, canola, whatever that is, coconut, olive, those I absolutely love. Avocado, absolutely love. And try to purchase them in bottles versus plastics. Yeah.
Man, you're a glossary of information. Honestly.
I'm just a nerd. I just love it.
You do. You absolutely love what you do, and you show up consistently, and you educate so much every week. I mean, you can just look at your feed. If I ever miss it, I go back and I'm like, what do I need to know? What do I need to get caught up on? And you make it so digestible for us.
And it's just a little nugget. I just want a little nugget just to say, hey, just to keep on track, just to say, hey, you're doing okay. It's okay. Keep it in the background. It's just a friend tapping you on the shoulder once a week.
And you tap well. The one area that I know I need to work on, and I know that I have some fellow colleagues too that need to do the same, and that we should hold each other accountable for our water intake. I have my highs and my lows.
Me too.
And I tend to want to add a little lemon.
Yes, it's great.
Last question for real.
It is fantastic. Lemon water, fantastic. Be first thing in the morning, room temperature, lemon water. Can't say enough about it. I've been doing it for years. If I could just slow down before I reach for my coffee, it's just like, okay, lemon water. Or I will do apple cider vinegar.
Oh, yes, come back to that. Okay, for real, that's the last thing. So lemon water is a real good go-to first thing in the morning, right?
Yes.
Tell us about apple cider vinegar. And I'm not going to ask anything else after. Right. Tell us about apple cider vinegar.
Okay. The thing that I want you to understand about apple cider vinegar, it's a fermented food. And so that's a whole thing. Check for fermented foods. But let me tell you the wonderful thing about apple cider vinegar and insulin resistance. So just think of a cell. When you eat sugary foods, your glucose, your sugar level rises, then insulin has to come out to make the sugar level go down, right? So it's either going to be stored or it's going to be flushed out, right? Well, over time, eat more sugar, glucose goes up, insulin comes in, pushes it down. But over time, your body is going to have to produce more and more insulin to get the glucose levels to go down, because the cell does not necessarily recognize that insulin in order to let it in to do its job. You see what I'm saying? So it's like a callus. If you walk around with tight shoes on, over time, you're going to build up a callus, and your body won't be able, when you touch the callus, you won't be able to feel it, right? So you have to go in and shave it off. When you drink apple cider vinegar, what it does is it, without going into the whole science, I have to close my eyes sometimes and say, think, Sheila. What it does is it helps the cell recognize that insulin so that it helps to bring down that insulin resistance. So when you do research about apple cider vinegar and diabetes, that is what's happening. This is why it's so good for it. So if you kind of thinking you're on the ladder of insulin resistance, and something else, I've heard patients say, well, I went to my doctor and they told me my glucose levels were down, or they told me my insulin levels were down. Well, did they test your glucose? Because you can have low glucose but really high insulin, and vice versa. So you need both of them checked, because insulin resistance hides in the background until, boom, there's the diagnosis. So there you go. Apple cider vinegar, fantastic with helping you to get rid of the insulin resistant state of the cell.
Yes. And that's just tipping a little bit in your water and just drinking.
Yes, absolutely. You know, if you're brave, you can take a shot. But if you kind of deal with an upset stomach, I would say take a shot of, if you drink plant-based milk, oat milk. If you're looking to change from dairy milk to a plant-based milk, try oat milk. It is very smooth, very similar to cow's milk. But if you are still on dairy, you know, sometimes you may want to take a little something to just smooth it out, because apple cider vinegar is no joke. They start out using it in your water first. So
someone had a question about is there anything to share about puffy eyes?
It can be any number of things. It can be genetics. It can be inflammation because you're dehydrated. It can be any number of things. It's not just one thing that it can be. Typically, it is genetic. But also the contributing factor is dehydration and maybe not enough sleep that most of us don't get enough sleep.
Got it. Oh my goodness. This was absolutely amazing. Now, I typically love to ask one or two questions at the end to help us to guide ourselves. So Real Talk is all about where I believe that the mission is to engage, encourage, and empower each and every one of us to transform our lives to one of purpose, passion, and prosperity. To you, I ask, what does purpose mean to you?
Purpose is, without giving you a long-winded answer, it's the thing that makes you get up. It's the thing that you might not be able to articulate, that when you're doing it, sometimes can bring a tear, because I can do this all day, every day. I can do it for free. And it's that thing that I know serves. That's my purpose. I know that I'm a servant. We all are servants in our own way. I know my mission is to serve. I had the opportunity to watch my parents care for my grandparents and usher them to the ancestors. I knew that I needed to be back in America to teach my daughter how to take how I take care of my mother, to usher her so she'll know how to usher me. all of that is a part of what I do with my patients. It is love, regardless of how it's executed. The purpose for me is service. And when you know that you can do it over and over and over, you know you're living on purpose. Yeah, that's purpose.
Beautiful. Wow. What does prosperity mean to you?
Prosperity means, as I age, it has definitely changed. I thought it was money, but I've come to understand that there is an energy with money. You do a thing, there is a reciprocal relationship. So for me, prosperity is being able to do the thing, to be able to live on purpose and be able to do it every day. I'm prosperous. I've watched how serving has gone from being a chiropractor to being a mom to being a business owner to being able to stay open through a pandemic and not have to shut my doors. So prosperity is being able to sustain for me. Being able to watch my daughter do and be more successful at her endeavors as that's prosperous. That's living prosperous, to be able to see her do that, to be able to see where I was in August when I became a empty nester, to see her come back home with all of the changes that have occurred. You know, she's taken on this new journey in her life. That's prosperity for me. So being able to watch the fruits of my labor, that's prosperous for me. It can be monetarily, it can be down to my entrepreneurial spirit, it can be being able to see my patients come back and say, thank you. All of that is prosperity. So I'm living a prosperous life and I'm grateful.
Amen. Amen. Ooh, amen. I love that. My goodness. Well, your passion and purpose collided today. And you shared with us wholeheartedly. I mean, we would listen to you forever and ever. And there will come a time where you will come here.
Yes,
And
again.
we're gonna have to throw out something where
Yes,
we all meet on a great big lawn and
absolutely.
just feed our mind, body, and soul. I mean, I can see it happening, and you'll definitely be a part of that.
And that's where it starts. It always starts in the mind first. Thoughts become things. Every
They
time.
really do. They really do. And if you were to if you were to wrap up this session, which we're doing now, and you're having the opportunity to say to someone who is only going to catch 30 seconds or 60 seconds of what you're about to say, what would you say to someone who needs to be reminded of the importance of health is wealth?
We're all going to die. How do you want to die? Choose how you'd like to die. That's powerful. When you're on your deathbed, choose. That's what this life is about, is choosing. What we do now prepares us for how we die. That's big.
That's deep. And that's real.
We didn't come here to stay. And I don't, sometimes I get choked up. I just don't want to see loss of life from losing the ability to feel, from being racked with so much neurological pain that we're having to be put under with all types of powerful drugs because whatever condition that could have been affected is ravaging our bodies. How do you want this to go? We didn't come to stay. Make a choice starting today on your way there. How do you want it to look? How do you want it? How do you want to experience it?
Well, you served. You served us in Real Talk today. Man, Dr. Payton, my sister friend. The comments are there. You have left an indelible mark on us.
I hope someone be able to do one thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was what we prayed.
That's what we prayed.
At least one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I know that this is something I would ask everyone to share the link with others as well, because in this life, the mission of service includes sharing.
That's right.
Sharing what we've learned and sharing the knowledge that we have gained. And we are not meant to be information gatherers.
Right.
We are meant to implement what we have learned tonight, because otherwise would have just taken this time out together to connect and not implement.
Right.
And so folks are asking, where can we connect with you? You say it aloud while I aim to type.
Okay. So you can find me in my small changes, my little reels every week on Instagram. And that's Small Changes with Dr. Shelia. If you're looking to contact me for services relative to functional medicine, it's smallchangeswithdrshelia.com. And if you're looking to consult with me relative to chiropractic, it's wellspringdecatur.com. And on Facebook, I'm Small Changes with Dr. Shelia as well.
All right. I have hastened. And then there's the website.
Yes. Yeah. I gave them, there's small changes with drshelia.com. And then there's wellspringdecatur.com.
Got it. Woo, you laid it on heavy and good.
Can do this. We can do it if you catch on to one thing.
Yeah.
You've made that burden lighter. Absolutely.
Amen. Amen. Well, on that note,
yes,
we can't thank you enough. This person says they found you in both places already. So that's beautiful. Dee, is that you? Are you still awake from the UK? I need to know. But really, I'm definitely going to get my matcha tea. I've been reading up.
That's what I'm doing right now.
I figured.
Yes.
But thank you so much for sharing your heart, your mind.
You're welcome.
Your knowledge, your depth and wealth of information. Thank you. Thank you. And we appreciate you.
Yes.
And 'tis the season, everyone. This is your holiday season.
Yes.
So may it be that everyone remains happy, healthy, and wholesome. And I can't top what we did tonight. Really, this was spectacular, and I want to say thank you so very much. So to everyone, we say don't hang up, Dr. Payton. I am going to tell everyone bye. Thanks again for making it to another episode of Real Talk with Marsha-Ann. This is a safe space. This is a place where my mission is to ensure that we engage, encourage, and empower one another, to ensure that we transform our lives to one of purpose, passion, and prosperity. Do something today that your future self will thank you for.
Yes.
And so thank you for joining another episode. Spread the love, happy holidays, and focus on what really matters.
Yes.
The small but significant things, and enjoy this gift of ours called life. Take care. God bless. Stay on, Dr. Payton. I'm hanging up the broadcast with everyone else.
Okay.
Bye, guys.